Hey, hello, my friends. That seems closer than normal, doesn't it? Um, hello, how are you guys going? I'm just setting myself up here. It's Chat with Matt. It is whatever it is, it's the 24th of July here in New Zealand. It is 2019, 24th of July. Here we are, Chat with Matt. Half an hour with me to talk about whatever is up for you. I'm just still getting on here and doesn't look like anyone's asked any questions again. This is getting interesting. So I don't know how to take that. Maybe everyone is completely content with their lives and doesn't have anything to ask. So, well, what's going on for me? I'm busy at the moment, which is exciting. I've been busy for the last month. Marie, my dear wife, has been away for 4 weeks, coming back on Friday, which is exciting. But in the meantime, I've been teaching all of the yoga classes, which has been an awesome experience. It's been a bit of a stretch, as well as looking after our darling little teenage boys who are not so little anymore, 17 and 15, and the house and the animals and my business, right? Which I have chosen to keep stepping forward with, despite the fact that I am a little bit time poor over these last few weeks. And speaking of which, I chose to advertised just last night that I am actually reopening an intake for the Bright Light Client Attraction Process Program course, starting that in a week or so, in 2 weeks' time, really. Starting in 2 weeks' time, we're going to start the Bright Light Client Attraction process with a new intake, which is very exciting. The current intake is not finished yet, but that doesn't matter because we're just going to start rolling them through because this is really working. I'm really excited, getting some awesome results from the first intake of people, and we're only just getting into the business end of the course now with them. So there's a lot of foundation to set because the whole premise is around being more of a bright light yourself to attract your best clients or your best allies into your life. It's not just about clients, it's also about attracting in the right allies, the right friends, soulmates, cohorts, collaborators into your life to make your experience on this planet much better, right? Because when we dance with the right people, dancing's much more fun. That's the truth, right? If we're hanging out with people who aren't really aligned with us and we're having to tiptoe around them, trying to maintain a persona that they want us to be, then that's dumb, right? It's just not us being ourselves. It's not us living a life. It's not being who we're here to be. So I'm about to get a lot busier because I'm opened up to do strategy sessions or clarity calls or whatever I'm choosing to call them. I was just dancing with that idea. I called them strategy sessions last time I had this little foray, about 6 weeks ago or 7 weeks ago when I took the last intake in. I'm calling them strategy sessions. I'm wondering if they're not better off called clarity calls this time. It's the same thing. It's just a name, but there's energy in a name. Names are not nothing. What we call something really sets the tone for what that thing is. And so putting a name on something really does help to set an intention for what is being offered. I've got an itchy nose all of a sudden. Does that mean I'm coming into money? I think that's itchy palms, isn't it? Anyway, it's very, very quiet. There doesn't seem to be anyone on live. I'm actually wondering if I have got it right and if I'm on live, if I'm actually broadcasting to Facebook right now or whether Facebook's just hoaxing me. So I'll pop back on here, just refreshing my page to see if I'm actually here or not. Oh no, here I am, 4 minutes 48 into it. Awesome. So I shall continue having my little rant to myself in the anticipation that some people are going to turn up and I'll be able to deliver some content to them as per their requests, because that's what I'm here to do. So, yeah, what's in a name? There's a lot of energy that comes in naming things, and our creations, our co-creations, and our opportunity and our services are no different, right? What name we put on how we serve our clients does create a difference, right? It creates an expectation for people showing up. You know, if people are showing up to a strategy session, they're expecting to get some strategies for moving forward. If they turn up to a clarity call, they're expecting to come away with some more clarity. In the calls that I do, I give both, right? We definitely give strategies for how to move forward into attracting more and more bright light allies, bright light clients into your life. And we also give a lot of clarity around what might be holding you up right now from doing that. And perhaps before that, which is equally as important, if not more important, we help people get real clarity on where they currently are and where they want to go, right? Because until you have those two spaces kind of a little bit more defined in your life, you can be a little bit awash, a little bit directionless if you're not really clear on where what your outcomes is that you really desire in life. A lot of people have this, faint idea that they want to be prosperous and they want to be happy, but they don't really know what that looks like, which is fine. You don't need to know exactly what it looks like, but they haven't really even inquired into what it might look like, right? They're not really pursuing anything at all other than just hoping that they get happier and more prosperous. And, hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. Well, it's not a viable strategy anyway. It's a strategy that a lot of people employ. That's the truth. Our society sells hope like it's soap on a rope. Just wanted to talk in rhymes. Why not? I don't know where soap on a rope comes from. It's just one of those marketing myths from way back, right? Soap on a rope. Seems like a great idea because, if you drop the soap, it doesn't hit the floor because it's on a rope. Hope mentality is a big one. And of course, to have some hope is better than having no hope. But if you're just relying on hope to get you to where you desire to go in the world, to basically expressing yourself as a more expansive manifestation of your own light, then hope ain't going to cut the mustard, right? You need to really start setting some strong intentions to take actions to get there, because all the hoping and all of the wanting and all of even the trying in the world isn't going to get you where you want to go. What you need to do is to choose, right, where you're going, and then to employ, hey, Jackie, awesome. Took me a while to read your name. Awesome to catch you live. If you've got any questions, please feel free to pop them in, because I'm free-forming yet again. And I have been just talking about the power in a name. Been talking about naming my strategy sessions / clarity calls. Some people would call them a roadmap. Some people would call them a discovery session, which is another term I could use to describe the conversations that we have, the free conversations we have to help people engage with us, which we do for a number of reasons. Like, why do we do these free calls? Some people would say, well, it's just a sales call. And while there is the potential to sell a program at the end of it, the call is much, much more than worried about the sale, because really the call benefits both parties so much. I get so much benefit out of doing these 45-minute free clarity calls, strategy sessions, discovery sessions, or whatever we call them, in a number of ways. Because in engaging with potential clients, because basically when I advertise for these calls, I'm intentionally choosing to attract people who align with me. So these are my potential clients. Of course, not everyone who comes on a call is going to become a client, but that's okay. The point is, me getting the opportunity to spend time talking with a potential client helps me to understand my client base much more, which then helps me to craft my offers in a way that's going to serve them and thus become more appealing to people, right? Because if rather than me just dreaming up a way that I want to serve and then try to attract people to that. When I actually talk to people who are into what I do and ask them what's going on in their life and get a feel for where they want to go and what's holding them back, then I can start to co-create services that are best going to serve them, and that's going to serve everyone in the end, including myself, because my services will become more and more attractive and thus more likely to attract an investment, which obviously I need to feed my family, and also it's going to serve people to come into my clientele based on investment, right? Because getting free stuff's great, but truly, if you really want to move forward, then making an investment in yourself and purchasing a program or a product generally carries more weight energetically, and thus much more likely to achieve better results for people. And I'm all about the results, right? I'm here to empower people. I'm here to encourage people, but I'm also here to really step them through the process, which is a simple process, right? It's not complicated. I don't hide that idea that it is very, very simple, but I also know that most of us need some help with it, and myself included, right? Doesn't matter how simple it is, it's still not easy to do. It's not easy to maintain the commitment. It's not easy to keep showing up and maintain the consistency with the simple process, and that's why we help people. We use light language to lubricate that pathway, and we use coaching methods and encouragement and what's that other thing that starts with an A? Accountability, right? We help people find accountability so that they keep doing what's going to serve them rather than letting their emotional resistance railroad them. And emotional resistance is inevitable on this path. If you're not experiencing the uprising of emotional resistance, you ain't trying. You're not really stepping forward into a more expansive expression of yourself. So, getting back to the name of it though, some people say, well, it doesn't really matter what you call it, mate. You're going to do the same thing. Yes, it's true. I am going to do the same thing no matter what it's called. The product is the same, but the name sets an expectation, and that influences the result. That influences the result, because you have to understand that people get results based on their own beliefs around a product or a service, not on how effective the product or the service is, because everyone gets results based on their own perspective. You know, two people can go on exactly the same holiday. One person has an amazing magical time. The other person has a completely miserable time. Exactly the same holiday, exactly the same weather, exactly the same food, exactly the same opportunity. The only thing that was different was the mentality that they brought to the experience, right? The only thing that was different was the expectation they brought to the experience and the perspective they brought to the experience. Experience was exactly the same. Outcome was completely different. That's what we're talking about here. So I can do the most magnificent job of running a strategy session, clarity call, discovery experience, right? A free 45-minute call leading people through a process. Their expectation is what influences the result that they get much, much more than anything I can do. So, but I can also help to influence their expectations by helping to pre-educate people to what they're going to get before they arrive at the call that I do. And that first and foremost comes with the name of what it's called, as well as, of course, the documentation. Hey Pat, how are you? As well as, of course, the communication that happens pre-call, including the content that they clicked on to start with, the content they read from me that inspired them to choose to click on the link and book a clarity call, discovery session, strategy session, whatever we're calling it. All of it plays in together. All of it plays in together. So it's a very interesting game or unfolding for me as a facilitator, experiencing how this plays out and watching it. And in the last time that I opened up the Bright Light Client Attraction, 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, and I did 3 weeks of strategy sessions then, and I did about 35 of them over that time, in which case 12 people chose to join with us into the course, the first pilot program. I I learned a huge amount about the power of these calls, and also a huge amount about my client base just from those 35 people and all of the conversations that we had in that time. And so I'm really, really looking forward to launching into that again for the next few weeks as I refill this experience into another cohort of people who can move through it together and work with each other and myself in getting their best outcomes, right? In helping them to align more with the light that they are, to really connect into the truth of themselves so they can radiate that out around them, which will then attract the right people to them, and then they can co-create with those people, right? They can sell those people to their products, because so many facilitators I've witnessed out there are really struggling with their services because they're trying to serve the quote-unquote wrong people who aren't really aligned with them, people who have been attracted more to what the facilitator is offering rather than to the facilitator themselves. Most of us as facilitators, especially when we start, make the mistake of putting all of our emphasis onto our modalities and really selling how great they are and attracting anyone to our services. We just really want to serve, and we just really want to get our business off the ground, so we're willing to take anyone on as a client. And unfortunately, that tends to lead to a burnout situation, not necessarily from being over busy, but because quite often we don't get too busy because we're attracting the wrong people, and then we're not really putting out the right energy, and we don't attract as many people as we want. We get more and more stressed around that, and the stress is what causes burnout, right? Burnout is not caused from being busy. Burnout is being caused from being overstressed. So it's important to recognize the difference, because some of us can be very busy in this world and there's no real risk of burning out because we're doing what we love and we're in the flow and we're not really stressed with it at all. We're busy, but we're not stressed because we feel in alignment with what we're doing, and therefore burnout is not an issue. So we see very commonly that when facilitators start, they are not very discriminating with who they are choosing to attract to their services. Any client is a good client. Any client who's willing to pay me is a good client. But unfortunately, that doesn't hold true for very long. So we really recognize that a lot of facilitators, and that's not just energy workers, right? It can be all sorts of facilitators who work with clients, would really benefit from getting much more intentional about who they're attracting to their services so that they can enjoy serving the people who are aligned with them, and thus they will expand into their more of their power as a facilitator, and thus be able to serve more and more people in bigger and bigger ways. Hey, Sister Meg, how are you? I'm still open for a question arising as I'm talking about the Bright Light Client Attraction at this stage, and I've been talking about strategy sessions and what I call them, whether I call them strategy sessions or clarity calls. I have a feeling after this morning's meditation that I'm going to change the name because I feel that more people are looking for clarity around where they are at and where they would like to go than actually looking for the strategy of how to get there. And perhaps strategy is not a word that's particularly in alignment with my clients. I know I don't really look at it as a strategy. It's a process. But that doesn't work. I can't call it a process call or a process establishment call, although that's what we intend to do, help people to establish a process to help them move forward. It's all about having catchy phrases, and strategy session, of course, rolls off the tongue, but perhaps it's more, it's not so much for my clients. Anyway, it's not terrible because obviously 35 people chose to have a strategy session with me last time I offered them, but I have a feeling that clarity call carries a better vibration for my clients. So I think that's what I'm going to change it to moving forward from here. Anyway, and a lot of you might be going, oh, what's the matter? It doesn't really matter, Matt, just do it. And in some ways it's true, but in other ways we strive to always make our services as good as they can be. And first impression, as Swami Hariharan from my yoga days, is very, very dear to me. He always used to say, first impression, last impression. How you meet someone is basically what forms the basis of relationship. And so the name of something is quite powerful. It is quite powerful. So we've still got 10 minutes left here, friends. I'm running out of steam. What would someone like to know? Please type something in. Give me some inspiration, some direction. So that I don't just feel like I'm talking about myself. Hey Zena, how are you, sister? I'm open to questions. Please feel free to ask me a question. I've just spent 20 minutes talking about the Bright Light Client Attraction program that I'm opening up again for new enrollments in a couple of weeks, and I'm starting to do clarity calls to help people, free 45-minute clarity calls, and we already changed the name from strategy session to clarity calls, free 45-minute clarity calls to help people to see if they're a good fit for that program, and to help them in general move forward into attracting more alignment in their life, more aligned allies, more bright light clients, more fun in general into your life, and to be a bigger service on the planet. Hoping if I go silent then someone's going to pop something up. I have a habit of filling the space because silent feels kind of awkward on television. It's even more awkward probably on radio. Anyone? Or do I need to pull another rabbit out of my hat for the last 8 minutes? You guys are torturing me. What have I I'm going to try and read that properly. Thank you, Zena. What have you found to be the most effective daily practice for you to assist with alignment? The most effective. So you're testing me out here because I do quite a few different techniques or practices. Many of them are very important to me. I'll list them off and then I'll see if I can come to the most important one. I have a feeling the most effective one is to be consistent breathing, because consistency is really key. But let's talk about how my day starts. My day starts with meditation, and I intend to spend at least an hour in pretty much silent meditation, although quite often I use my earbuds with my own ambient sound playing in there. The ambient sound being a meditative product that I created, can't remember when, but I've been listening to it pretty much non-stop all year. So I must have created that late last year. It's basically just the sound of waves, but I've layered light language underneath it. So it's got a few different layers of light language. It's also got a layer of me chanting Om for an hour, which I did and recorded in there. Very, very lightly. It sort of fades up and fades down. It's quite interesting. I obviously enjoy it because I listen to it pretty much every day, but to drown the sound out of others, because my son gets up and goes to work during that time generally. When Marie's home, she's generally getting up in the last sort of 15 to 20 minutes of that meditative practice, which can be a little bit distracting. So to drown that sound and soften it is very effective for me. So that's what I do. After my meditation, I like to spend at least 15 minutes journaling. My journal here, it's a big one these days. Quite often I do break my meditation. I was talking about this morning in a live stream I did with my little group. I break my meditation quite often and scribble stuff down. I have one side of the page for journaling, and the back side of the page, which is also open in front of me while I'm doing my meditation, is for taking quick notes about inspiration that arises during my meditation, inspiration for exactly what I was talking about before, whether I call it a strategy session or a clarity call, inspiration about other content that I could produce. All sorts of things pop up while I am meditating, and I am now very willing to break out of my meditation to write that stuff down, because I've learned through experience that it isn't there at the end if I don't. And while I do enjoy the stillness and falling into a deep space, ultimately my meditation is there to work as a tool to help me move forward in the world, to be of more service in the world, rather than for me to get quote unquote good at meditation or to have beautiful experiences in meditation. That happens as well, but ultimately I'm prepared to use meditation as a tool. So I do break out. Then I do my journaling, which a lot of it starts off with I choose. So it's not affirmations by rote. It's not that I write the same every day. It's completely different what I write. Well, not completely different. So we're usually in the same vein, but I just allow myself to express. And I'm usually writing, I choose to align, I choose to maintain, I choose to, do certain things during that day. Usually it's in anticipation of what I'm really struggling with, what I'm feeling resistant towards. So whatever resistance is coming up, I usually counter it with, I am choosing to step past that resistance. Awesome, Zena. Yeah, because a lot of people think that it's quote unquote wrong to break their meditation and they should sit there. They've got to sit completely still for whatever time they've chosen to. But in creating that contraction around it and creating those rules, you're missing the point, right? Meditation is a tool to serve you, and so allow that to happen. Much love, Pat. Thank you for writing with us thus far. And so that's the first thing, meditation. Then doing my journaling is very important for me to help me move forward and maintain alignment, and to find alignment and maintain alignment. But what's even more important is choosing to take time during the day consistently, whether that's every hour, whether that's every half an hour, depends what mode I'm in during the day, right? If I'm sitting in front of my computer, then I tend to have my little timer running, the little bells of mindfulness or whatever they're called. And every half an hour, it dings and then bongs 3 times to remind myself to stop, close my eyes and take 3 deep breaths or 2 deep breaths and align myself with who I'm choosing to be in the moment. That consistency really helps to drive me forward. When I was more active and more moving around, then I'd have my phone timer doing the same sort of thing. It doesn't need to be every half an hour. It can be every 1 hour. It can be every 2 hours. It's more beneficial that you set it up in a way that's going to work for you. It doesn't need to be a timer at all. You can put little post-it notes up to remind you to do this whenever you go to the tap to get water to drink, whenever you go to the fridge to eat, whenever you go into the bathroom and look at the mirror, right? We do those things regularly throughout the day. You can have other ways of reminding you, whether it's, low-end technology or high-end technology, it doesn't really matter. But what we do require, most of us, is some sort of system to remind ourselves to consistently, which doesn't mean all of the time, it just means regularly through the day. Maybe I should use the word regularly rather than consistently, because some people freak out and think, I'm not capable of doing it consistently. Consistently is not constantly, right? Understand there is a difference, but regularly to stop and to take some time to actually choose to align with ourselves, which for me is the breath, right? So as I breathe in, I am actually choosing internally, visually, intentionally to align with myself, and it is just an intention, right? There's no magic formula, there's no mantra, there's no mandala, there's no secret sauce. It's a choice. It's a choice that if you trust that you can make, then you can make it. So intentionally choosing to align with myself, and as I breathe out, I'm choosing to relax into that alignment, which is ultimately all that needs to happen, because the truth is aligning ourselves is not getting anything, because we're already got the alignment. The problem is we are masked from our alignment by our stress, right? Our stress basically has us focused on what we perceive as problems in our life, what we're trying to overcome. We're contracted in that, and thus we are not experiencing the alignment that's there. We're already aligned, we're just not experiencing the alignment because our stress is holding us out of it. When we naturally relax, we naturally become more aligned. So alignment is not, don't effort your way into alignment, but it does take a dedication, and it does take consistency. So choosing to breathe with consistency, not constantly, or constantly keep breathing because that's good for your life, right? But consistently or routinely, periodically remember to actually take some conscious, intentional breaths to bring yourself into relaxed alignment and refocus yourself into your priorities and how you're moving forward. Because a lot of the time during the day, we get wound up into trying to solve a particular problem. And in that wound upness, we actually cut ourselves off from the solution. Awesome, Meg. I'm glad that helped you too. And I have just clicked over through 30 minutes of chat with Matt. So I officially managed to get there. Thank you very much, Zena. What else? So it's about forming daily alignment habits. Exactly. Daily alignment habits is a great way of putting it. And so some of those habits can be bigger things, like a period of time for meditation, and some of them can be quite short. Like, I calculate how much time I spend a day doing that deep breathing alignment technique. It's less than 15 minutes. It's probably less than 10 minutes most days. Total time spent doing it. But it's done systematically throughout the day. Even if I take 2 deep breaths, which takes 30 seconds, every half an hour through the 14 hours or 15 hours that I'm awake, right, and functioning, that's only 15 minutes, right? At maximum, it's 15 minutes spent during my day. But every half an hour for 15 minutes, remembering to take 2 deep breaths and align with yourself, if you invest that 15 minutes every day and do that, your life will change dramatically, right? Dramatically, your life will change. Chalk and cheese difference, 15-minute investment. Is it easy? Not at all. It's not at all easy to choose to stop every half an hour and take 2 deep breaths, but it's definitely worth it, right? And none of us do it perfectly. If you only do it 5 times during the day, your life will still improve dramatically, right? 5 times 30 seconds. It's 2.5 minute investment in taking some deep breaths and aligning with yourself. So it's a massive habit. Doesn't take much time. It does take a bit of discipline, devotion, dedication. Hey, Sister Stacy, how are you? I'm just about to hop off, and you can go and watch this as a replay if you desire. Anyway, my friends, so that's it. If you are keen on talking with me about the Bright Light Client Attraction Process Program, be willing to reach out. I will be posting some more posts into the Mantara page, as well as my private page, as well as the Mantara Big Love group, with links to my booking calendar. But if you haven't seen that, because I've only just started up, then just reach out, put a comment on here and I'll send it to you direct. Awesome, Zena. Yeah, I feel discomfort regarding empty silent space. Have shifted from working in film to working in radio here in Australia. Awesome. Yeah. Film and radio. I was just thinking about the film. Oh, that's right, because I was walking on the beach this morning doing a little live stream to my group, and there was just a small crew there, like a little doco crew, sort of 3-person crew doing an interview on the beach. I'm not quite sure what they were shooting, but anyway, first time in a year. Awesome, Zena. It will be changing as of next week. I'll be going back to the earlier time for this, at 9 a.m. my time. At the moment it's at 11:30, so it's going to go back 2.5 hours. I've had to push it to this time slot because Marie's away and I've been teaching yoga. I've just come back from teaching yoga. Anyway, my friends, that's it. I'm going to get off, chat with Matt. I've done my half hour. Thank you so much for joining with me. I look forward to speaking to you next week. Bye for now. Bye, my friends.